Got that cylinder head off. She's dripping a little oil there. And we can see pistons in there. Now you notice that one is just as clean as a whistle. We got a little coolant draining out. We typically have that. Got a V6. Another companion cylinders going up and down. Oh, we're under the line. Like that. We're going to bring that one around where it's low when we get it off. We'll be able to take that rod off, and we'll be able to take the other rod off.
What rod?
Yeah, that's a rod. That's a connecting rod.
I know, but what other rod are you talking about?
Well, there's going to be two of them. See what I'm saying? You're going to have two rods. Excuse me, not that one. I was pointing at the wrong stupid thing.
That's why I was asking.
Well, I was looking at it with one eye. Take that one and that one off and make sure you remember where they came from. Okay. Reach in and grab that piston. We took the rod cap loose. Just pull it out of there. So she got that number 1 out. Okay. And that is number 5. Interesting thing about this engine, when you number them from the front to the back on the crankshaft, you're going by the firing order 14, 25, 36. All right, and let's see how those rings look. Got any stacked grooves or anything like that? How's your oil scrapers aren't stuck or anything? This engine here was built out of junk parts by a couple of other students. After a third student had blown the other engine up that was in here, so we're in pretty good shape. There's a cylinder bore down in there. All right. We got our starter button hooked up here so that we can operate the starter. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring our next set of rods around so that we can get to the caps on them easier. All right, we got that like that. Now we're going to take those caps off and we're going to take the next couple of pistons out. And out, that's actually number 5. I said earlier that 4 was 5, but actually 5 is 5. So they're numbered on the back 1, 2, 3, and on the front 4, 5, 6. Oh, we're stacked.
Almost.
Yep, you picked up on that, didn't you? That ain't good. That's not going. That does not bode well because you lose compression past those two. Okay, let's move on. We're taking the nuts off the next one, and we're going to be pulling that rod cap off, and we'll get that piston out. Mm-hmm. Yep, there we go. This is one type of cylinder hone that goes down in there and breaks the glaze, and that's another type. I really like that kind. They also make one that looks kind of like that, but it's got little balls of abrasive on the end of some stems. That one right there is really a good one. Now I will tell you this, these things are pretty doggone pricey. But right now I want you to pick it up and I want you to work it down in that, go down the cylinder. You're going to spin the drill kind of slow and you're going to go up and down with it, while I lubricate it with this soap and water.
Do you stick it in first?
Ready? Yeah, so go ahead, stick it in there. Go up and down fast. Up and down fast. We're actually breaking the glaze in the cylinder. We're going to keep it lubricated with soap. Soap and water. It's better than anything else for that. Up and down, up and down. Slow the drill down and go faster up and down. There you go. Slower. Spin it slower, but go up and down faster. We're actually trying to make sure we're breaking that glaze on those cylinders, that shiny glaze where the rings rode, and we're going to give it all some place to be. In other words, the oil's going to ride in those little scratches. Spin the drill a little faster than that should. All right, that's pretty good. All right, now then, let's look at that. Look at your handiwork. Wipe it out. Wipe it out with a rag. We're going to see what we did here. We're going to do every one of these holes the same way. We got to make sure we did a really great job. If you don't break that glaze, so you're in here, we still got a glaze that you can see the remnants of what it had before. And right now we're trying to start over. We're trying to break that glaze. All right, now we're gonna have to do that some more to make sure we break the glaze. Okay, we got a nice little cross hatch in there that's going to help our rings to seat. This one right here hasn't had that yet. It's still got the glaze on the cylinder wall. You can see the difference. We got the new rings on our pistons. We got 2 compression rings. The dot goes up. The one with the bevel on the upside and the dot on the upside's in the top groove, and the one with the bevel on the bottom and the dot on the top goes in the second groove. Then you got your oil control ring. We're putting these 2 pieces of hose on there so when we go down in the cylinder, we are going to go past the crankshaft without scratching it. And there's the new bearing. We're going to put some grease on that bearing before we put it in there. Okay, number 6 is the first one we're going to put in there. We're going to use our starter button here, and we're going to put that journal right on the very bottom, as close to the bottom as we can get it. And then on the top of our piston, we have an arrow. Point to the arrow. Where is it? It's really hard to see. It's kind of made with some little punch marks here. Usually they'll have a notch, or they'll have a on the front of the piston, in that place it'll say F or something, but this one here has just got some little thing. Now it's important, there's that little arrow, you can see it now, right there. It's important to put the pistons in there right, because if you don't, the weight that's in the piston will cause it to make knocking noises and things. So, and you're supposed to put them back in the same hole they came out of, so when you pull them out, it's a good idea to mark them. So this one here's got to have to go in there, but first we got to squeeze the rings, and we got to put some oil, and we'll show you that. We're going to oil this piston really, really good. We got a pan under it, so when it drips off, it'll go all over the floor. All the rings particularly. The rings are going to make, you're going to oil the crud out of them. You're just going to oil them. It's got to be oily, just dripping with oil. Okay. Now this ring squeezer, you can tell the bottom part of it's got these little places here that's supposed to, go against the deck on the engine. The deck being the part right there. Okay, now she's going to take the ring squeezer and stick it on there like that, and hold it with her thumb like that. And then we got to take the little 1/4-inch ratchet. They send a piece of square stock that's bent into an L to do this with, but they're nice enough to let us have that 1/4-inch square is perfect for a 1/4-inch ratchet. You got to tighten that up really good. And notice we left enough of this skirt sticking out so that it's going to guide us down into the cylinder. Got it real tight as you can tighten it. All right, and if so, it squeezes the rings all the way in. All the rings are squeezed all the way in. Now we've also got these long pieces of hose over these bolts, and we got grease in our bearing, and we're going to go down in there. We're going to feed that down in there with our arrow pointing to the front of the engine, and then she's going to hit that thing pretty good with the hammer. First, she's got to tap around there and make sure that ring squeezer is seated. And now she's going to go really aggressively down in there, because her first piston is in the hole. We're going to raise the car up now, pull the hoses off, and we're going to put the rod cap. All right, we've pulled our hoses off. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Okay, let's see.
Pulled our hoses off. Now we got to make sure that the tang in our bearing, the tangs in our bearings, they're going to match up with the tangs in the upper part of it. So we're going to put that up in there. We can see those up in there. Those tangs are on the same side, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Now, anytime somebody's putting an engine together, all right, so see if you can figure. All right, did you see it up there?
Yeah, it's right.
23 to 28 foot-pounds is where we're going with those. All right, and now we know how much to tighten them. TV series. All right, we're going to set our torque wrench to
28.
Let's go ahead and put it on 26, kind of in the middle. Mm-hmm. That'll work. Okay. And what happens is, whenever we get it tight, you're going to start seeing these lights going in. We go beep when it gets to the right one. But the cool thing about this torque wrench, and it's made by Armstrong, actually is going to tell us how much torque we're applying while we're applying it, which is good. And then it's going to beep when we've got enough. So we're going to put our socket on there. We're going to torque them. Torquing a rod nut. And our torque wrench is telling, whoop, we're ready. There you go. Now we're moving to the other one. Move to the other one. I'll torque that one too. All right. We got a beep. Now we're going to check the first one again. Double check everything. Check the first. Now pull that one and make sure that it's like it ought to be. It's good. Now every time we do this, we're supposed to turn the engine through really by hand to make sure that the engine doesn't get tight after this. Even when they build engines on the assembly line, they do a turning torque test in between assembly steps to make sure that nothing tightens up too much or that there's not something out of tolerance. These are the head gaskets. You might notice that they say up on them. Now you got to make sure you put the head gaskets on right. These small holes in the head gaskets are there to slow the water down. I talked about that before, so that it'll spend some time in the head and pick up some heat. If you were to cut those the same size as those water jacket holes, the water would go through the head too fast. It wouldn't pick up enough heat and the engine would overheat. This part right here is called a fire ring, and that's supposed to handle all of that. We talked about that before. And so there we go. And you got these little, sealing around there. Gotta make sure we handle them very nice. and all that. There's a lot more to a gasket than just, you know, stamping a piece of paper out in the shape you want it. There's a lot of technology that goes into building those. Now there's also these multi-layer. This gasket's got a metal backbone on the inside of it, and some of them are like multi-layer gaskets that are steel all the way. It's like some like your Crown Victorias use those. But anyway, you got it goes like that. You got up. See where your up is.
Yeah,
right there. Your up right there, and you got these dowels. These dowels are basically here so that the head won't move around. It helps you do a lot of things. It actually helps you when you stick the head on there. The dowel supports it, but it also keeps the head from moving around and getting loose. Now, these particular heads for this engine here are not aluminum. They're cast iron, so we don't have to have any lubricated with graphite type gaskets. We're putting the rear gasket on there. We've already cleaned our block real good where they went. Okay, now there's your new head gaskets on there. Okay, we're going to start with the back cylinder head. We're going to put the rear cylinder head on it. Pick it up, Shelby. Chelsea, I'm sorry. Her name is Chelsea, not Shelby.
He never gets my name right.
I know, sometimes. I was calling you Chelsea Danielle Lee and all that stuff. But, all right. Flip it around. All right. Now you're going to gently go back there and don't smash the gasket or anything. Let's put it back down there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Feed it back in there. Don't want to hurt your back. Make sure you prop yourself good and everything. And you're going to set it so that it's on those dowels. You see where it's going to drop onto those dowels? You may have to move it back and forth to line it up and all that. But you're going to... There you go. It dropped in place. See? It will just sit there now. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. Now let's grab our other one and sit it on the front. We're going to get the other one there. We're going to bring it and put it on the front here. Alright, and drop it in place. That's it. It's sitting right on the dowels. Very good. Now some people like to put a K&W block seal or something like that, or some of that copper coat on the gaskets and all. In our particular case, we're not going to do that because since this is a trainer vehicle, we may be taking it apart and putting it back together, and that stuff always kind of makes tears the gaskets and stuff, and we may even want to reuse the gaskets at some point since it's a trainer vehicle. But now we're ready to put the head bolts back in. Okay. Okay, what we're having to do first is we're having to tighten them to a certain torque, and then we're going to loosen them up so that they're not squeezing the gaskets at all, and then we're going to tighten them to the final torque in 2 stages. All right, we also got to torque them according to the pattern shown us on the paper. All right. Got to make sure she's on the right one, being really careful. Can you get on that back one straight? She's bringing it around, and it's telling her that she's just about there when the light turns red and tell her to stop.
Uh-oh. You gotta go back around.
There we go. That's good. The cool thing Velcro has been doing for a very long time is Velcro gasket. Is who I'm talking about. They send these little things with the pan gasket, and the pan gasket goes on there. Now what we're going to do is come over here, and Chelsea is going to take these 4 in her hand, and she's going to put one at each of the 4 corners, like one there, one there, one there, and one there.
This way?
Just screw them in there. They go in there. The threads match and everything. Not that corner. Go to the one behind it. This one right here.
Right here?
Yeah, go to that one. And she's going to screw that in there, and the threads are just perfect. They screw right in there. All right. Now she's going to put one at each corner, and then you notice the way this little thing is designed, we're going to wind up snapping the, push the pan gasket up on those. Then you can snap the pan up on those, and then it's just hanging there while you start all your bolts. And then you can screw these out when you're done. It's just as cool as it can be. All right. Now we're putting our oil pan back up. We've glued the gasket to the oil pan, and we got our little holders up. All right, we got our intake gaskets in place. We're going to need to put those. Yeah, that goes on there. Just, you know, just like you putting it.
Okay. Well,
and all that. You can put those. You can get those on. Don't forget to put those on. But right now we're going to put our. And these right here. See, this one here's got the little.
So it goes right there in the little holes?
Yeah, those go in the holes like that right there, and that's going to locate those.
Okay.
But we're going to put a little spot of silicone right here, and one right there, and right there, and right there.
To hold it in place?
Well, not to hold it in place, but to keep it from seeping around there. And
see how that one's not
yeah,
fitting?
that one there doesn't. Sometimes they fit kind of screwy.
Maybe it turns.
It goes like that. We got it backwards.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Great. Yeah, you were thinking. See how it goes around the cam sensor?
Yeah.
That looks pretty good. Okay, now then we're going to put our push rods and our rocker arms in place. This is the rocker arm and the push rod. And the lower part of this push rod goes right there in that lifter, like that. All right, and we'll put that in there like that. Oh, wonderful. And we drop that down there. All right, now the push rod, the rocker arm, excuse me, it's got this fulcrum that goes in it. And on this particular one, on some of your Chevys and stuff, you have to adjust the valves by changing the position of this. Now see the hydraulic action of those of those lifters keeps the valves adjusted right. So we're going to take our bolt and we're going to start it in there. And when we're pulling it down, we're going to make sure that that little boss goes down in its little trench there. All right, so you're going to get it started and then watch it real close when it's going down in there. We're going to put all these rocker arms and their push rods back in place and make sure they're torqued to spec. And we got to look up and see what the spec is. Okay, we got all the push rods on, but we still got to torque them down. What is this you got?
This is the intake manifold.
Intake manifold. Okay, now we're going to put that. That goes on here. And we've already got, now wait a minute, before you do that, on top of this, right there, you need to put just a little ball of silicone there, and there, and there, and these four corners. Put a ball on top.
Okay.
And that's going to, close that gap up the rest of the way. Just a little bit. Is it already set up in there? Just a little. We're going to put it in each corner. There you go. Now then, we're going to set the manifold on there. And make sure you dodge that cam sensor back there. Set it on there. All right, make sure you got it lined up like it's supposed to. It needs to go back a shade.
Which way?
There you go. There you go. You can tell. Now, your bolt holes, you can see those down in there. All right, and as always, you got to make sure you don't have any water in the bottom of any bolt holes like you did
earlier.
And you may have some. See them down in there? But make sure you got no water, no bolt holes. Blow it out and put your bolts in there and torque them down. Okay, we need to have a little muscle help here. Grab the exhaust. Grab the exhaust. Put it up there. Stick it in there. You gotta wrestle it in there, and it's sort of it's kind of tight on that and all that. So we gotta fight it in there. I see it. Got to get it in place like it's supposed to go. When we get the exhaust put in there, then we're going to hook it up to the pipe coming out the back there. And we're going to get this bolts up, going to get it started up, get the oxygen sensors plugged in, then we'll be ready to start it. Exhaust leak fixed. Sounds pretty good. And we got to finish burping the cooling system out. That's important. We got good oil pressure. Lifters are all pumped up. Sounds quiet and smooth. And Chelsea has good success. How do you feel about that, Chelsea?
I feel
Let's give a thumbs up on that. Thumbs up. High five. Yay!